We're going to talk about the Israeli intelligence agents who are reporting on Debka.com that the Bomber brothers were double agents who decoyed the U.S. into a terror trap. When you want to get angry at the FBI and say they're a bunch of schmucks, doofuses, PC, you're wrong. Their analysis is the opposite. The reason the FBI did not arrest him when he returned from Russia is because they were tracking him. He was a double agent. He was hired by U.S. and Saudi intelligence to penetrate the Wahhabi jihadist networks. Remember we talked about the Wahhabi networks? Do you remember what happened last week when Obama went to give his speech in Boston? Do you remember the Saudis flew in their foreign minister, and the next day, the Saudi in the hospital who had been tackled by a Bostonian was mysteriously released? And remember now there's no discussion of the Saudi anymore? According to Israeli intelligence, it all fits. Walid Shobat explained that the Saudi was connected in some way to these terrorists, either through intelligence or finances, because no one has answered how these two bums lived in Boston without working. Has anyone asked that question? What do they do for a living? What else did I tell you on Friday, boys and girls of the Savage Nation? Do you remember I told you that they didn't act alone? Remember I told you they were part of a cell of 16? This morning we woke up and we said the FBI is trying to break a cell of up to 16. There were 16. They usually work in a group of 16, according to the Mumbai attack, according to the London bombing, work in a pack of 16, and most of them are here on asylum or on student visas. You morons, you! You idiots, you! Liberalism is a mental disorder and a dangerous one. It will kill all of us. Stop immigration now. Stop immigration now. Fire Rubio now. I'm enraged right now at the idiocy in the American media. I expect it from my government, and I expect it from the liberal media, but not like what I saw over the last few days. It was a new low of brainwashed drug addicts. So let me go again to the Israeli media. I've been promising this for 35 minutes. I'm just going to read it to you cold. Remember last week, the bombs went off. Nobody knew who did it. The great man was coming to give a eulogy, I think, on Wednesday. They didn't release the pictures. They had them, though, right? They had them. Great man gave his eulogy. He got his photo op. He flew back on Air Force One. Then they released the pictures the next day. Then all hell broke loose. They knew who the guys were. How did they suddenly find them in the midst of millions of pictures? How did they know who to circle? Here they are. How did they find them all of a sudden? They must have known who they were on Tuesday, since they knew who they were on Thursday. But they released them all of a sudden, circled with an arrow, who they were. So they knew who they were all along. Now that's number one fact. Number two, the Saudi, tackled by a Bostonian and a cop in hospital, protected by machine gun toting cops, never heard from again. Next day, Saudi foreign minister flies in. What was he doing here? He came to bring him pita bread? He came to bring him a poultice from the desert? No, he came here to make sure the guy got out of trouble. He came to schmooze the American government, saying, look, it went wrong, whatever, let the kid out. Well, at least that's what I think. So Debka.com writes this. The Tsarnaev brothers were double agents who decoyed U.S. into a terror trap. The big questions buzzing over Boston bombers Tamerlan and Dzhokhar Tsarnaev have a single answer. It emerged in the 102 tense hours between the twin Boston Marathon bombings and Dzhokhar's capture Friday, April 19 in Watertown. The conclusion reached by Debka Files counterterrorism and intelligence sources is that the brothers were double agents hired by U.S. and Saudi intelligence to penetrate the Wahhabi jihadist networks, which, helped by Saudi financial institutions, had spread across the rest of Russian Caucasus. Instead, the two former Chechens betrayed their mission and went secretly over to the radical Islamist networks. By this torturous path, the brothers earned the dubious distinction of being the first terrorist operatives to import al-Qaeda terror to the United States through a winding route outside the Middle East, the Caucasus. Moscow, however, keeps these republics on a tight military and intelligence leash, constantly putting down violent resistance by the Wahhabist cells, which draw support from certain Saudi sources and funds from the Riyadh government for building Wahhabist mosques and schools to disseminate the state religion of Saudi Arabia. Pay attention, Mayor Bloomberg. building mosques and schools, Mayor Bloomberg, like the Victory Mosque in New York City, you moron, you. The Saudis were concerned enough to send Saudi Foreign Minister Prince Saudi Al Faisal to D.C., Washington, Wednesday, April 17, in the middle of the Boston Marathon bombing crisis, for a private conversation with President Barack Obama and his national security advisor, Tom Donilon, on how to handle the Saudi angle of the bombing attack. The Sarnov's recruitment by U.S. intelligence as penetration agents against terrorist networks in southern Russia explains some otherwise baffling features of the event, they write. 1. An American college in Cambridge admitted younger brother Zakor and granted him a $2,500 scholarship without subjecting him to the exceptionally stiff standard conditions of admission. Okay, that's number 1. 2, when in 2011 a foreign government, that is Russian intelligence, they think, asked the FBI to screen Tamerlan for suspected ties to Caucasian Wahhabi cells during a period in which they had begun pledging allegiance to al-Qaeda, the agency, it was officially revealed, found nothing incriminating against him and let him go after a short interview. He was not placed under surveillance. Neither was there any attempt to hide the fact that he paid a long visit to Russia last year and on his return began promoting radical Islam on social media. Yet even after the Boston Marathon bombings, when law enforcement agencies, heavily reinforced by federal and state personnel, desperately hunted the perpetrators, Tamerlan Sarnov was never mentioned as a possible suspect. Now, you can read the rest of this yourself. I don't want to read the whole thing.